In the heart of a busy office in the town of Ajay, Michael sat quietly as the new director Sandra said the words, "Effective immediately." Her voice was calm but cold. At 50 years old, Michael had given 17 years of his life to the company. Not just his time, but his heart and wisdom. Around the table, the team he built sat in silence. These were people he had trained, guided, and helped grow. Michael looked at them, then turned to Sandra. "I hope the client presentation goes well on Friday," he said. The room stayed quiet. Sandra, just 34, and fresh from a business school overseas, frowned. "What do you mean?" she asked. Michael simply replied, "You'll find out." Michael walked back to his small office and began packing his things. 2 cardboard boxes held his years of work, pictures, awards, and a coffee mug from his daughter that said, "Best Dad." Sandra stood at the door but said nothing. "Michael, about the Koratek account." She finally started. "Not my problem anymore," Michael said as he closed the first box. His team came in one by one to say goodbye. No one said much. Just quiet handshakes and soft words. Ruth, his most trusted analyst, stood the longest. "This isn't fair," she said. "It's business," Michael replied. But deep down they both knew. It wasn't just business. It was something deeper. Michael wasn't surprised. He had seen this coming for weeks. From the first day Sandra arrived, she started changing things, calling meetings without him, questioning his work in front of clients, making small moves to push him aside. Just last week, she told the company leaders that Michael's methods were old. But Michael had been watching. He kept a record of every move she made. He didn't fight back. He just waited. That evening, he loaded the boxes into his car and drove home. His wife, Linda, was waiting with a cup of tea and a quiet smile. "How bad is it?" Linda asked. "Could be worse," Michael replied, but inside he knew this wasn't just a bad day. It was a turning point. The Koratek presentation Sandra was so confident about was not a normal pitch. Michael had spent 9 months preparing it. He knew every person on their team, every small detail they cared about. Sandra didn't. She thought she could copy his slides and smile her way through it. But the truth would come out soon, and it would speak louder than anything Michael could say. Michael wasn't just another employee. He had helped build the company from the ground up. When Mr. Emmanuel, the original owner, hired him many years ago, the company was small. Michael worked hard, learning everything from how to speak to clients to how to manage difficult projects. By the time he was 31, he was leading big contracts. By 36, his name was known across the industry. He didn't care much for titles or attention, but everyone respected him. Sandra didn't understand that, but she was about to learn. Michael sat quietly that night, sipping tea as the lantern cast a soft glow on the walls of his sitting room. Linda didn't say much, she just watched him, knowing that sometimes silence spoke louder than questions. "They don't know what they've done," he said finally. Linda nodded. "But they will." Michael leaned back. "Sandra doesn't understand that this isn't just about charts and emails. The people at Koratek, they don't trust PowerPoints. They trust people. They trust the voice that's never lied to them. And come Friday, they'll be asking questions only I can answer." Michael had started with the company long ago when it was just a rented office with 2 broken fans and 1 working printer. The founder, Mr. Emmanuel, took a chance on him fresh out of school. "You don't need all the experience," he had said back then. "Just be honest and never forget people's names." Michael never forgot. He remembered birthdays. He remembered which engineer at Koratek didn't like long emails. He remembered that their director, Mr. Felix, preferred reports printed on blue paper. These were small things, but small things build bridges. Sandra had stepped in with shiny systems but no memory. And now the bridge was cracking. On Thursday morning, Michael woke early. He opened his old laptop, checked his messages, and saw 3 emails from companies he'd worked with before. The subject lines read, "We heard the news, let's talk." By noon he had 1 job offer and 2 meeting invites. Linda placed a bowl of yam porridge beside him. Looks like they still value you, she said. Michael smiled. They remember who helped them when things were tough. That evening his phone buzzed. It was a message from Ruth. Sandra has been inside your old office all day. She looks worried. Michael sipped his water slowly. Worried? Course she was. She had the files, yes. But not the story behind each file. She had the client list, but not the trust behind each name. She could read the reports, but didn't know why certain figures mattered more than others. By now, Sandra had realized she was holding pieces of a puzzle she couldn't solve. And the one person who could help. She'd pushed him out the door. That night, at 1 a.m., Michael found himself at the kitchen table with his laptop open. Linda walked in, rubbing her eyes. Still awake. Just thinking, he replied. Linda sat across from him. Did she call? Michael nodded. Twice. Left 3 voice notes. All about the presentation. Linda raised an eyebrow. You going to help her? No, Michael leaned back. This isn't about revenge. It's about responsibility. I spent years building something real. She didn't just fire me. She dismissed everything I've ever given. She's not ready. Linda smiled. Then let her face it. Michael closed the laptop and stood. Tomorrow, she'll learn that you don't build trust in a day. And you don't throw away people like used paper. Friday morning arrived with the kind of stillness that warned of a coming storm. Michael dressed simply. White shirt, clean trousers and sandals polished from years of use. At 9:30 a.m., he sat at Teo's Cafe, a quiet place downtown with steady Wi-Fi and good coffee. He didn't rush. He sipped slowly. At 9:47 a.m., his phone rang. Sandra. He ignored it. Then again. Then a third time. At 10:02 he received a message from Ruth. Koratek is here. They're asking for you. Sandra is panicking. Michael leaned back in his chair. The day had just begun. Ruth called. Michael, where are you? She whispered. The noise in the background suggested chaos. Sandra can't find the technical breakdown you wrote. The team is asking specific questions and she's, well, sweating. Michael stirred his tea. Tell her to check the shared folder. Subfolder under Koratek Systems. Inside, specifications. Ruth went silent for a few seconds. Then, she says that folder is almost empty. Nothing but general documents. Michael almost laughed. That's because the real notes aren't digital. They're in my blue notebook. The one I took home. Silence. The engineers asked for the calibration draft, Ruth added. The one you promised to walk them through personally. Michael kept his voice steady. I'm no longer their employee, Ruth. They're asking for you specifically. Michael looked out the cafe window. I understand. At 10:45 Michael's phone buzzed again. This time it was Mr. Emmanuel's son, David, now the company's CEO. Michael, David said with forced calm. We need you to come in. There's been a misunderstanding. Michael replied. No misunderstanding, David. I was let go. Effective immediately, remember. David's tone softened. Look, maybe Sandra rushed things. But this is fixable. Michael raised an eyebrow. I can't legally represent your company. I'm not a staff member. Then name your consulting rate. Anything. Michael shook his head, though David couldn't see it. I'm not available. It was true. At 2:15 p.m., he had an interview with a fast-rising biotech firm called ClearPath Solutions. Their director of operations had personally invited him. At 11:30, Ruth sent another message. Koratek team left. Gave Sandra 25 minutes. No presentation. No answers. They're gone. At noon, Sandra called again. This time Michael answered. Her voice trembled. You have to help me. This is sabotage. Michael kept calm. No, Sandra. These are consequences. She snapped. You withheld company property. That notebook belongs to Brimtech. Michael replied. The notebook I bought myself. The one I've used for 10 years. Has personal notes. No official files. Sandra was quiet. Then she tried again. Michael, please. I can lose my job. You made your choice, Sandra. Now live with it. He ended the call. 10 minutes later, security phoned, asking him to return the notebook. He didn't answer. That afternoon, Linda found Michael in the garden, trimming the hibiscus shrubs. You look relaxed, she said. Shouldn't I be? Michael replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. She's trying to paint me as a villain. Linda smiled. You didn't lie. You didn't steal. You walked away. Michael nodded slowly. The thing is, they thought removing me was simple. They forgot I wasn't just another name on payroll. I was the reason clients stayed loyal. Linda touched his shoulder gently. Sometimes, the best way to prove your value is to be absent. By 3:30 p.m., Michael's phone buzzed with a message from Ruth. 3 of your former clients have started asking where you went. One even posted about you online. Michael replied, Tell them I'm exploring better opportunities. And maybe suggest they contact ClearPath Solutions. Ruth responded with a thumbs-up emoji. That evening, Linda laughed over a bowl of Ifo Riro. She's spinning it, she said, scrolling through her phone. Sandra just posted on LinkedIn. Exciting leadership changes happening at Brimtech. Michael smiled. Let her decorate her fall with fine words. Saturday morning brought another surprise. Tund, one of Michael's former colleagues from the international department, called. Michael, I should have told you earlier, he said. Sandra had been calling our clients privately. Not to build trust, to gather files. She even asked for original email threads. Michael raised an eyebrow. And did you send them? No. I knew something wasn't right. Michael leaned against the fence. She was trying to erase me with paper. Replace real work with templates. But people remember who helped them. They don't forget that. Tund continued. After Koratek left yesterday, Sandra blamed everything on you. She told the team you hid key documents on purpose. Did anyone believe her? Michael asked. Not Ruth. She reminded everyone that you offered to train Sandra. Gave her full access to all your records. Remember those training materials you made for her? Michael nodded. Spent a whole weekend on them. She called them outdated and dumped them in the cabinet. Now everyone's saying she dug her own pit. Michael sighed. I didn't plan this. But maybe she needed to learn the hard way. Later that day, Michael sat on the porch with Linda, watching the sun begin to set behind the palm trees. Tund says the company's in chaos, he said. David's calling for external consultants to assess damage. Linda handed him a glass of Zobo. You gave them your best. Now give yourself your peace. Michael smiled. His phone buzzed. It was ClearPath Solutions. Michael, we'd like to invite you for a final interview Monday morning. Package ready. He looked at Linda. I think a new chapter is waiting. She replied. Then walk into it. The old door is already closed. Monday morning arrived with quiet strength. Michael wore his best shirt, sky blue neatly ironed, and walked into the ClearPath Solutions office in the heart of Iriti City. The reception smelled of lemon and fresh paint. Everything felt new. The interview began at 10 a.m., and by 11:20 it was done. The panel smiled. You've done the kind of work people write books about, said Mrs. Patricia, the director of operations. And more importantly, you understand people. By noon, the offer letter was in Michael's inbox. Senior consultant, higher pay, full benefits, and respect. As he stepped out into the sunlight, Michael felt light for the first time in months. Not because of the money but because of the possibilities. ClearPath was growing fast, and they wanted someone with his experience to shape their future. At 2 p.m., he met Linda at Mama Rose's eatery for lunch. How did it go? She asked. Better than I imagined, Michael said, biting into his fried plantain. They didn't ask how many certificates I had. They asked what mistakes I've learned from. They listened. Linda smiled. That's the kind of soil where good things grow. Later that evening, Ruth messaged again. Michael, Brimtech stock dropped 3.4% today. People are talking. Clients are pulling back. Michael wasn't surprised. In the world of tech and trust, silence spreads fast, and so does disappointment. Lose one major client like Coratech, and everyone starts to whisper. A whisper becomes a breeze. A breeze becomes a storm. At 7 p.m. he saw an article on AJ Business News. Industry shakeup. Coratech withdraws from Brimtech, eyes new partnerships. They didn't mention names. But the story between the lines was loud enough. Tuesday afternoon, Michael's old friend Tund called again. Michael, Sandra's gone. Michael paused. Gone where? Fired. David let her go yesterday evening. It was quiet, but everyone knows. Michael was silent for a moment. How's the office handling it? Mixed feelings. Relief mostly. But fear too. David is talking about bringing in new external managers. You know what that means. Reshuffling, more firings. Michael sighed. I feel bad for the team. They didn't deserve the confusion. Well, Tund said. Maybe they need a fresh start too. Tund, Michael asked slowly. Are you happy at Brimtech? There was a long pause. Not really, Tund admitted. It doesn't feel like home anymore. Michael leaned forward in his chair. ClearPath is hiring. They're expanding into West Africa. They need international business consultants. With your language skills and client history, you'd be perfect. Tund sounded surprised. You serious? I start next week, Michael said. If you're ready, I'll set up a meeting. I'm ready. Sometimes the best opportunities are the ones you didn't plan for, but that still fit like a key in a waiting door. On Wednesday, Patricia from ClearPath called with a new proposal. Michael, she said, we're considering building a pharmaceutical consulting wing. We need someone who understands both the field and the people. Michael thought for a moment. I know someone. He was thinking about Ruth, the one who had stayed loyal even when things were falling apart. Ruth, who knew compliance and structure like the back of her hand. Let me talk to her, he said. Patricia agreed. We want builders, not just workers. That phrase stayed in Michael's heart all day. We want builders. Friday afternoon, Michael returned to Teo's cafe, the same place he had watched Sandra's world crumble the week before. But this time it wasn't coffee and silence. He was meeting Ruth. She arrived wearing a yellow blouse and a look of curiosity. This isn't about closure, is it? She asked. No, Michael replied. It's about vision. He laid out the ClearPath offer. Ruth blinked. You want me to build a department? From scratch, Michael said. Your name on the structure. Your decisions. Your style. No Sandra standing in your way. Ruth smiled. When do I start? By the end of the week, ClearPath had 3 new team members. All former Brimtech staff. Not through headhunting. Not through pressure. Through trust. Through open doors. Ruth became the director of pharmaceutical consulting. Tund signed on as head of international strategy. And Michael, he had become more than a consultant. He was now part of the company's foundation. They weren't running from the past. They were running toward something better. Something cleaner. Something that felt like home. 3 months later, Michael stood in a conference room in ClearPath's new Lagos office, reviewing quarterly numbers with Patricia and the executive team. The results were better than anyone projected. Client satisfaction had jumped 60%. The new department was already profitable. Tund, joining via video from Nairobi, smiled and said, We're opening doors in 3 new countries next quarter. Patricia looked at Michael. Your team changed everything. You didn't just bring skills. You brought heart. Michael glanced at Ruth, who nodded. We didn't come to prove Sandra wrong. We came to build something right. That evening, Michael received an email from David at Brimtech. Simple subject line. Coffee. They met at Teo's cafe just like old times. David looked tired, aged by the storms. Michael, I owe you an apology. We lost 4 major clients. We laid off 15 staff. The damage was deeper than we thought. Michael listened. You thought efficiency could replace experience. You thought speed was better than wisdom. You gambled with trust. David nodded. You were right. Would you consider coming back? Full leadership. Double pay. Fix what we broke. Michael shook his head. The door behind me is closed. And I'm already building something better. David stared into his coffee. I thought hiring someone like Sandra would make us modern. Yes. Sharp. Michael replied calmly. Sometimes you can't rush what takes years to grow. Trust is not a file you upload. It's a story people believe because you've lived it. David looked ashamed. I should have protected you. You built our department with your bare hands. Michael stood. I'm not angry, David. Just focused. I've found where I'm meant to be. And now I'm helping others find the same. David didn't argue. There was nothing left to say. As Michael walked out of Teo's cafe, the late sun bathed the street in warm gold. He wasn't bitter. In fact, he was grateful. Brimtech had been a chapter. But Clearpath was a whole new book. When he got home, Linda was watering the plants. You saw David? She asked. Yes. And? Michael smiled. He offered me everything I once thought I needed. Power, money, position. But what I have now is better. I have peace. Linda nodded. That's something they can't put in an offer letter. Monday came quickly. Ruth moved into her new office. A bright space with glass windows and a clean white desk. Tund was already on a plane to Ghana, working on Clearpath's regional expansion. Patricia called Michael that afternoon. We've secured 2 more partnerships because of your old clients, she said. Word travels fast when people feel seen. Michael smiled. That's how I was trained. How did you learn that? She asked. Michael thought back to his first boss, Mr. Emmanuel. He told me, people first always. Projects will follow. I never forgot. Clearpath's rise wasn't loud. It was steady. Clients came not because of flashy ads or big slogans, but because of referrals. Because someone whispered, "Go there." They listen. By the end of the quarter, they had outgrown their office. Michael led the search for new space. He walked through empty buildings with Ruth, measuring light and silence. What are you looking for? She asked. A place where people won't feel small, he said. A place where work doesn't feel like punishment. Where we don't have to prove we matter every day. Ruth smiled. Let's build that. Weeks turned into months. Clearpath's name spread through the region like dry season wind, fast and strong. Then one Friday, Patricia walked into Michael's office with a file in hand. Michael, we're being approached for a merger, she said. 3 smaller consulting firms want to join forces. They want us to lead. Michael sat up straight. That's a big move. Patricia nodded. It would make us the largest independent consulting firm in West Africa. Michael leaned back. And how do you feel about that? Patricia grinned. I feel like I need you by my side to make it work. That weekend, Michael and Linda took a quiet walk by the riverside. She held his hand and he told her everything. It's happening faster than I expected, he said. Is that a good thing? Linda asked. It is, but I want to make sure we don't lose what makes us special. Linda stopped walking and looked at him. Then hold on to it. You're not the man who works just to survive anymore. You're the man who works to build. Just don't forget the village that raised the builder. Michael laughed softly. I married a wise woman. The merger went through by the end of the next month. Clearpath now had over 160 staff across 5 countries. Michael became vice president of strategic growth. Ruth led the largest compliance team in the region. Tund was running international operations from a new base in Nairobi. But the culture stayed the same. Quiet, people-focused, grounded. Clients didn't just come for service. They stayed for connection. Michael walked the halls each morning, greeted every staff member by name. That's how you stay close to the ground, he often said. By remembering the names that carry the work. One afternoon, Linda called Michael at work. Guess who just messaged me, she said. Who? Your old boss. Sandra. Michael raised his eyebrows. Sandra. After all this time. She's in Accra now. Working at a startup. Says she learned some hard lessons. Wants to talk. Michael paused. Let her talk to the mirror first. I've got meetings. Linda chuckled. She said she respects how you handled things. Michael responded. Respect earned too late is just a whisper in the wind. Then he returned to reviewing a proposal that would help train young graduates in consulting. 2 weeks later, Casey, Michael's daughter, called from university. Daddy, she said excitedly. My professor used your story as a case study today. The Brimtech exit, the Coratech account, the ClearPath growth. All of it. Michael smiled. Did you tell them I was your dad? Of course, Casey laughed. And guess what the professor said? What? That in a world chasing speed, your story teaches patience and people. Michael's voice grew quiet. That means more to me than any title. We're proud of you, Dad, Casey said. We all are. On the anniversary of his departure from Brimtech, Michael sat in his new office and reflected. 1 year ago he had walked out with 2 boxes. Now he had helped build something that couldn't be boxed. Not just success but legacy. Outside his window, he saw a team of interns laughing as they set up a workshop banner. He stood, walked to them, and joined their preparation. Sir, you don't have to help, one of them said. Michael smiled. If I ever stop helping, fire me immediately. They laughed. But in that moment they saw not just a boss, but a builder who never forgot where he started. As the company grew, so did its impact. Michael spearheaded a mentorship program that paired senior consultants with young graduates across the region. Every Thursday afternoon he sat with interns, answering questions not just about work but about life. Don't chase roles, he often said. Chase readiness. When you're ready, the role will chase you. Ruth ran monthly workshops on compliance, and Tun shared insights from global projects through video calls. What they were building wasn't just profitable, it was generational. A tree whose shade they would never sit under, but that others would. One day, Patricia entered Michael's office with a proud smile. You've been invited to speak at the Africa Business Leadership Forum, she said. They want to hear your story, from your Brimtech days to now. Michael blinked. Why me? Patricia laughed.